I always knew this day would come.
I got it.
I don't think you got it.
I held him off for years.
Charlie, get up here.
He's a relentless son of a bitch. Won't stop till he finishes the job. Death is coming for our family.
I said, oh, 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 oh.
What is up, you guys? It's Katie Hettenbach, host of Katie Afraidy, and I'm just so freaking excited. I say this every time. I'm excited, okay? I'm just an excited person, but I'm extra excited. You know why? Because I got to interview the directors of the new Final Destination movie, Zach and Adam, and I'm so excited for that conversation. So, you guys, without further ado, here she is. Enjoy! Just give you a quick rundown and then we'll jump into it.
I like your lucky penny in the background there.
Right? I went to a screening.
I see you've seen the movie, yeah.
Heck yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't come into this blind. That'd be so could you tell me what it's about and so confused? So what is this?
Yeah.
What's happening? But my name is Katie. I'm with Fangoria. I have a podcast there called Katie Afraidy. I'm a comedian, actor, filmmaker as well. And I interview actors, comedians, and filmmakers. And we just chat horror. And it's a silly, goofy, ha-ha time. So I'm going to ask you some movie on-brand questions and then some silly ones because that's what we got to do.
Awesome.
That's what we got to do.
That's great.
So first, I just want to say congrats.
Thank you.
Wow, thanks. I mean, we feel lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys made a fun horror movie and I'm going to say holy shit. Holy shit.
Yeah, holy shit.
Holy shit. It was anxiety, so much anxiety, and it was amazing, and bravo.
I'm so glad you could see it with a crowd in a theater because that's a different experience for this movie. Like it's so much of a audience movie. You could just feel the rumblings of tension and anxiety and cringing that's going on. and there's also lots of laughs in the movie. So it's just great to experience it with a crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It was a lot funnier than I was expecting. And I had never seen a final. I also have a slight speech impediment, so bear with me. A final the Destination movie in theaters before. So watching it with that crowd, and we were all we were laughing together. It was a visceral crowd experience. So
yeah, we always said we wanted to make a movie that you had to watch through your fingers, but you were also laughing and smiling at the same time. So it's fun to see that work.
You did exactly that. So how did you guys prepare to direct something as insane as this huge franchise?
Yeah. Well, I think we had a big challenge ahead of us because we really loved the franchise and did a huge deep dive into all the previous movies and all the different set pieces and broke out spreadsheets of like certain deaths and why they worked and what types of deaths they were and how many omens there were and, how many surprises there were and all that type of stuff. So we really wanted to make sure that we were making, a really, really, really true entry into the Final Destination franchise. But at the same time, we also really wanted to make sure that it was surprising and new for people in a way that they couldn't predict where it was going to go next. And that's really challenging when you're doing something that has such a beloved legacy, is that these movies have a certain rhythm to them and a certain structure to them that makes them great. And we love that too. But we wanted to change that in some ways so that the audience who loves and knows these films had the experience of not knowing what the hell is going to happen next. And so there's a lot of different little tweaks we did where at first it throws you for a loop. You're like, wait, what? That's not how a Final Destination movie works. What's going on here? Mm-hmm. Call the Cannon police. But then it starts to kind of all tie back into, beloved rules that we all know and structures that feel very familiar in a way that's hopefully sort of surprisingly inevitable, which is always what we're kind of leaning and going for. But we really tried to find new ways of kind of putting set pieces together. For example, most of our set pieces, have multiple characters in them, which a lot of the previous Final Destination movies don't. A lot of our set pieces have important character work happening while the set piece is happening, which also the other films don't do that much. And so these are all different kind of like challenges we put on ourselves to try and really make a Final Destination movie, but also make it fresh and update it.
Yeah, you guys did exactly that. And man, I'm like replaying as you're talking. I'm like replaying. It's like coming back. It's like I trauma like blocked it out. And I'm like, oh God, I forgot about that kill. There it comes back. There it comes back. You're like, that's good. So in watching all of the I'm going to say FD movies, because otherwise I'm going to be stuttering the whole time.
We say FD all the time too.
Amazing. Thank God. But do you guys have a favorite kill in the franchise?
I mean,
and also in, your movie as well.
I mean, there's so many amazing kills throughout the FD universe. The opening sequences, of course, are all epic and so creative. The logs are iconic. I think one that I come back to a lot is the screw on the balance beam from FD5. It's just so tense, right? All you're doing is seeing feet miss a screw. Like you could even argue that nothing's happening. But it's just so cringy and so tense. And that was a big inspiration for the sequence we built around the glass shard in the cup.
Oh yeah.
Which just give the similar sense of like cringy anticipation while you're watching, but then comes into play in a way that you don't expect, because screw on the balance beam doesn't kill her. Something else kills her. It's just part of the Rube Goldberg, domino effect. So that was really fun to play with.
Yeah, one of my favorites is what we call the spaghetti death from FD2, which is there's a character who's won the lottery and he's celebrating, he's bought all this stuff, and his hand gets stuck in the carburetor while the kitchen's burning down. But before all that, he throws some spaghetti out the window. And you kind of forget about that. It also kind of makes you hate him, which is also a key part of FD movies. Yeah. And turning the audience against characters right before they die. And then all this crazy stuff happens and he escapes the fire and he goes down the fire escape and he slips on the spaghetti that he threw out the window, all that time ago. And the kind of setup and payoff of that feels very unique to FD and delightful. And we really tried to kind of always keep that as a key element, to all the different set pieces that we put together, is that we set up things and then bring them back just at the moment that you've forgotten about them, so that you're like, oh no, of course that got him. And there's so much fun to that.
Yeah. Oh my God. So what, if you had to, now we obviously don't want to die in these horrific ways, but if you had to go in a FD sort of way in any of the films, was there a way that you're like,
I would go for like crushed by something huge and heavy. That seems like a good way to go.
Yeah, gotta be a fast death.
Nice, quick death of just being completely
hit by a bus while you're happy,
or completely pancaked by something. There's the little kid who gets crushed by a falling plate of glass in FD2, I believe. And he just completely gets pancaked into the ground. That seems like a good way to go.
But he had to go to the dentist beforehand. That was miserable. He almost got choked.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, also, speaking of kids, that kid in the we were all like, fuck that kid.
Fan favorite death.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When you're seeing this movie in a crowded theater and 12 minutes in, a kid gets crushed to death and the whole theater erupts in applause. I mean, that's a particular kind of movie-going experience.
You're not going to get that very often.
Not very often at all, but it goes to show you how, it's just, we're having a fun time. Who knows? Yeah. This is a silly movie. Yeah. Like, it's a horror movie, but these are just absolutely silly. Have you ever seen the TV show 1001 Ways to Die.
Of course, yeah.
It felt very much like
Yeah.
the romance.
I think
that.
part of why you go to a Final Destination movie is to watch how death works, because in these movies, the Rube Goldberg, twisty ways that death kills people is just so clever. It's just so fun to, you end up rooting for death in a lot of ways because death's methods are just so much fun.
He is a hard worker. Good gravy. Good gravy. Speaking of being hard workers, you guys are a directing duo. How do you go about, that on set?
Yeah, it's by the time we're on set, it's fairly seamless because we've had thousands of hours of meetings about every little detail of ironing out every specific thing that we want to try and do while we're on set. People often sort of assume that we split up work and one of us does one thing and one of us does the other, but that's really not the case. We basically do everything at the same time, and we really enjoy that process because having collaboration of kind of throwing ideas back and forth, brainstorming on every single thing, constantly questioning how each little decision could be pushed to be a little bit better is something that's super valuable. I think we both used to direct by ourselves individually. And when you're directing by yourself or creating anything by yourself, you are often a lot more prone to just go with your first idea. Because having an idea and telling a bunch of people that this is what we're doing is a very brave act. And you can be prone to just sort of digging into that idea, even as cracks maybe form around it. And we've just found by having both of us there, not only do we kind of kick the tires on each other's ideas a lot, but it just sort of opens up all ideas to be constantly checked and debated and brainstormed and improved. And that process can be really difficult and take a lot of conversations, but it ends up leading to creative that often is a lot more imaginative than we could have come up with, on our own. And it's a very addictive feeling. So we really love doing that and try and make everything together.
I love that. Look at you guys. Look at you guys. Look at you guys go. You guys are crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. So there was not a dry eye in the house when Tony Todd was on screen, especially his final little words. How is it working with him and getting him, I guess, getting also you guys prepared for that moment? Because I know that was, I believe you guys just gave him free rein and said, say whatever you need to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long process, figuring out what his scenes would be and what the story would be and how we would structure it around Tony. We always felt like he needed to be in this movie, but he was quite ill while we were filming. And so there was a lot of discussion around can he be a part of this or not? It was really him that, kind of held us to it and said, "You're not cutting me out. I've got to be in this movie." He was so excited to do it and to be there, even though he was physically weak. He was incredibly joyful to be on set and working with the other actors and doing another Final Destination movie, getting to bring Bloodworth back to life. And, it was just, he was so excited. But his physical presence, you can see when you see the trailer, it's different than it was in previous movies. He was physically suffering. And, that was very present in the process. And we didn't, obviously know that he was going to pass away. But we were pretty sure that this would be his last Final Destination movie, because Final Destination movies take years to create. And so it was very important to us to give him the platform to basically say goodbye to the franchise, to the fans, and to speak from the heart about what this is all meant. What is all this about? The character that in that scene is facing his own mortality, and Tony was facing his own mortality. And we talked with him at length about like, would you just want to say what's on your mind and kind of leave people with your thoughts on life? And so that's what we ended up filming for his final goodbye. And as you said, when you watch it, it's incredibly moving because he's just speaking from the heart about what life is all about to him. And it ends up being incredibly powerful. A lot of people, they don't go to a Final Destination movie thinking they're going to be moved to tears, but I think a lot of people will have that reaction when they see that moment.
Oh yeah, we certainly did. My friend and I were just ugly crying. We're like, oh my God. And then someone of course gets murdered right away. And you're just like, okay, we're fine. We're back and we're back. But that's so moving. And also just to be that, inspirational. I feel like if it were me, I would have said like, like, thanks so much. Like, but it's so inspiring. And in awe.
Well, he was really living it too. Like I said, he was incredibly happy to be there, even though he was clearly not physically doing well. And that's basically the message he gives, enjoy the moments that you have. And he was living it.
Totally. The sweetest. Okay. So do you have a favorite scene in the movie? And then also what was the hardest scene to film?
Well, the hardest scene was easily the opening of the movie. I mean, a Final Destination opening is iconic. And I think as filmmakers, we felt incredibly responsible to deliver something that felt like it could live in the pantheon of Final Destination openings. Like the movies are basically known for their openings. If you don't even know the numbers, there's the plane one, there's the roller coaster one, there's the highway one, there's the bridge one. So we wanted to make sure that, our film was up there with those. And I mean, it took years to basically plan and execute and shoot and edit just the opening. It was just so complex. Gosh. We had so many different gags. We broke the world record for oldest person on fire. We were setting people on fire left, right, and center. We were dropping people through, massive actual glass windows. And we built so many different sets and, had to scour North America for period costumes. And it was just this massive, massive undertaking, but everyone was so excited to kind of bring that together. And it was such a joy as a filmmaker to kind of, slowly put all these little pieces together and then see the total chaotic debauchery that unfolds on screen afterwards, once it's all together and you see people just kind of screaming and covering their eyes and opening their eyes even wider as the chaos ensues. And that was probably the most challenging, but the most fun part of making the movie. And I remember, when we had sort of seen the final version with all the sound and visual effects and stuff, I was just like, can you believe we made a Final Destination opening? Like just that is like such an incredible thing that very few people have ever had the chance to do. So that was an incredible experience. And probably my favorite part of the movie, even just specifically, there's a part of the movie where they're dancing to Shout, which is probably specifically my favorite part of the film because it mixes all the different mediums of film together. It's kind of almost a music video, but it's also building tension, and then it relieves the tension as everyone does a little bit softer now, a little bit softer now, and then that a little bit louder now is coming, and the glass is breaking, and the gas is spewing, and then it's like this fuse that's ticking down until the craziness begins, and I always delight in that part. And we did a lot in that moment where that scene starts with wide shots and cuts every few seconds, but then every shot starts cutting faster and faster and gets closer and closer. So it's just creating this rising tension visually that delights me every time.
Now I'm going back. I trauma blocked it all out. It's all coming back.
Yeah.
That the whole the Shout scene. I also whenever I hear Shout, I go white people, go white people. This is our culture.
Yeah,
yes.
This is our song.
I think that song is probably going to be ruined for people for a couple years. You won't be able to listen to that song without thinking about everyone dying horribly.
Which also kind of great, for you guys. But no, you should be proud of that opening. That's definitely gonna go down in people's favorites, and it's one of my favorites personally, just because it's fun. Also, that having people fall and heights is one of my things. So I wouldn't have even gone up. I would have been like, cool, you brought me here? Cool, I'm going to stay down here. You guys can go up.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm scared of heights too. So it was a lot of fun to kind of mine that feeling, to figure out how to create that feeling in the audience. You know, how do you design visuals that make you feel unbalanced, or like you're about to fall, or that you're, feeling dizzy or something like that. That was a lot of fun, but also creating like the perfect romantic date, at least from the outside. Mm-hmm. You know, the more we built it up as a romantic thing between this young couple, the more suspense there is, because as they're having the perfect proposal and kissing, at sunset, every second that ticks by, they're going to die. Mm-hmm. So the tension just grows.
And then you're like, how are they going to die? What's going to do it? And then, of course, it's just like, nope, everything's going to be involved. Why not? Because that's how it goes. So speaking of, trying to make it feel like you're actually falling, did you guys, I'm assuming you guys know it's going to be in 4DX, right? Okay. Yeah. Have you guys, I don't know if
4DX, IMAX.
We're very
terrifying.
Very excited to experience the 4DX experience for this film.
That's the one version of the movie we've not experienced. We weren't involved in designing the interactive, whatever they do in 4DX.
Yeah, insane.
And mm-hmm. I actually bought tickets to see it at 4DX opening weekend because I'm very curious to see it in that format. IMAX though, we filmed it for IMAX. We were very tightly involved with the IMAX team the whole way, basically designing a special version of the film for IMAX theaters where every time that death arrives on the scene, it expands to IMAX. So we designed a particular shot that's that's a push-in shot in each sequence when the Rube Goldberg kind of is just getting started, that then expands to the IMAX aspect ratio, basically making you feel viscerally that death has arrived. And that version of the film, they're not releasing that in home video or streaming or anything. It's only going to be in IMAX theaters. Oh. So it's pretty fun.
Well, shit, I got to go see it in 4DX again, and then I got to go see it in IMAX. Okay, cool. I got to buy tickets now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So obviously as filmmakers, nothing's ever done. We are perfectionists.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would change if you had an extra day, an extra more money, anything?
That's such a good question. Huh.
Yeah, no movie is done. It's just you have to give up.
You're like, I can't look at it.
They pull you away. Nothing jumps to my mind. I think is there anything that comes to mind?
We come from the indie world. We've made $1 million and sub-$1 million movies, and now we got to work on a giant studio movie. So we had a lot more resources than we were ever used to.
Yeah.
So
a lot more time to try things.
Yeah, and a lot of time to marinate and try things in post. And we even did some additional photography, which is what they call, after you're editing for a while, you can go shoot new scenes and stuff like that. It's really a luxury in that way. And New Line was so supportive of the film the whole way. So I can't really think of anything that I would change at this point. I kind of want to, I would love to do like a choose your own adventure mode and go down side quests with some of the characters. Cause some of them are just really fun to hang out with.
I totally agree. I know that you guys shot a different ending for the mom because originally she died earlier. Is that version, does that still exist? And will it be in like the Blu-ray special features?
They never fully finished it. We edited it. Yeah, that was one of the things where early on there was a concept for how she died. And as we worked on the film, everyone agreed that her character was so interesting and had a lot more kind of energy behind it where just as she was starting to be someone that was coming into her own, and just as she was starting to like become a mom, her story was cut short. Plus it was very close to two other deaths that happened in the movie. So it was kind of like a bam, bam, bam. And so together, everyone totally agreed that the film would be a lot stronger if she survived a little bit longer until the end of the movie, so that her journey could kind of complete itself in a way that's a lot more satisfying. So the way that she was initially going to die was in like a revolving door. And we had this kind of sequence built out for that. But it never got finished. I don't think they're going to show it because all the visual effects and stuff never got finished. But there is still a little hint of the revolving door in the movie, which we left in as sort of a nod towards that, but also just the fun of how revolving doors are actually kind of horrifying and terrifying, and just even though it doesn't kill one of the characters, it still deserves to be in the movie because it's just one of those anxiety-inducing things. And during the making of the movie, we researched all the ways that people can die in revolving doors and have died or have been severely injured, and it only made our anxiety even worse for revolving doors. Yeah, we did a lot of horrible Google searching for this film.
Yeah, that's no. Yeah, I've been trapped in one, and then one has closed on me.
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, oh no, this is. I'm gonna die. Okay, I have a few more.
FD is really all about like bringing your everyday anxieties to life.
Yes.
That's where the horror comes from. So we spent years mining every anxiety, we had, every anxious thought we had for your entertainment.
Yeah, and even after the movie, they were like, drive safe, have fun, driving home. And I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm like, you live 10 minutes away. It's going to be okay. Or is it? It was, but okay, I have a couple more and then we will go on with our lives. But thank you so much again.
Hopefully very safely.
Great to talk with you. Yeah. How can this microphone, come for us?
Right. Something, or it probably would be like you spilled water earlier, and then it'll like electrocute you through your headphones, and then I'll be like, "What's going on there?" And then something's gonna fall on me, and then and that's how we die. That would be the worst. That would be the worst, or the best. Who knows?
I read an article about someone who died electrocuted through their headphones because they bought a like off-market charger for their phone. That was not, Apple or whatever. It was like some cheap charger that they plugged their phone into, went to sleep, and had their headphones into their head. And somehow the charger short-circuited and electrified the phone and then cooked their brain, and they died in their sleep.
What a way to go. Way to go.
Cooked by your headphones.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's you can't really buy off-brand. It is as... even though Apple and like having the on-brand stuff is expensive, when you buy the other stuff, it's just
maybe that was propaganda leaked by Apple.
Yeah. Literally. But that's a good way to go. Die in your sleep, peacefully listening to a podcast.
But then your brain is just, is it peaceful?
Yeah, might have been horrible, but who knows?
So funny. Okay, so what is your favorite horror movie? And then what was the first movie to scare you, horror or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer could be the same movie potentially, depending on if you classify it as a horror movie. It certainly was when I saw it. When I was 9, I went to go see Jurassic Park in the theater. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a non-kid movie, basically. My mom thought it was a kid movie. She's dinosaurs and Spielberg. Yeah. And that'll be like basically just a fun romp. And was absolutely convinced I was like literally going to die while watching that movie because I had never been so scared in my life. And during the T-Rex paddock scene as it's like eating people and stuff, just like crying and covering my eyes. And for some reason, my mother didn't take me out of the theater. But then I had kind of I remember this visceral feeling of realizing I wasn't dead, that I hadn't died while watching it, and then feeling, oh, I missed everything, and like being kind of bummed. And so that by the time the velociraptors attack in the kitchen at the end, I was just like leaned totally forward, loving every second of it. And and it's, my favorite movie. You could argue it's my favorite, horror film, because it was when I watched it. It's certainly a horror film when people are getting bitten in half sitting on the toilet and stuff like that. So, and would love nothing more than to see a super, super scary version of Jurassic Park in the future.
Yeah, for me, when I was a kid, it was Alien that was like that. Mm-hmm. That was probably the first really horrifying movie I saw that like hooked me. But more recently, I thought Get Out was brilliant. Like, I just love that movie, and so clever. The hypnosis teacup sound design still haunts me. Yeah. Just such a smart, great tone to that movie.
Yeah, for me, the radar and aliens beeping when they're in the air ducts, and it's just deep, deep, deep. It's like that as a kid, that totally terrified me. Just that sound.
Yeah, and then the one scare in the air ducts. Yeah, it's just that one got me. I was like, ooh. Yeah. But amazing. To see it as a kid, I feel like that would have had. I wish I would have seen it a lot younger. I saw it like a year ago for the first time. But I was in a theater and I was like,
what was your first scary horror movie?
First movie that scared me, even if it's not a horror movie, it was definitely the original Spider-Man. The Green Goblin terrified me as a kid. Absolutely terrified me. But I can also understand Jurassic Park is a horror movie also. Like, that's hands down, has all the tropes, has everything. Like, I still have nightmares of velociraptors, and I still think they're behind every shower curtain. Yeah.
That's where they hide. I had nightmares for 2 years after seeing that movie that a T-Rex was sticking its head in through the window and eating me out of my bed.
We've always dreamt of doing an R-rated Jurassic movie.
Yeah, that would be pretty, just really completely
get on it.
Do the Final Destination Jurassic crossover would be good.
Do it.
I mean,
why not?
Jurassic Park already is kind of Final Destination-y with the storm turning off the fences and
that's true.
People
but
slipping
just
in
like
the rain.
Imagine like just the bites, the being able to actually like focus on and dwell on that stuff instead of just like cutting away.
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be good. I think you guys are onto something. If not Jurassic Park, just because that franchise is doing whatever it needs to do with world and whatever. Although I think they're going to start going more towards the books, which should be good. But you guys should get on that. Final question, and this is the silliest one of all, and it's a take on the name, Katie Afraidy. Do you guys think audiences will be afraidy or not afraidy of FD Bloodlines?
I think they'll be afraidy. I mean, Katie Afraidy was afraidy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This freaked you out.
We've had the pleasure of watching many night vision videos of people watching Final Destination Bloodlines, and seeing people's faces while they're watching some of the crazy bananas stuff that happens in this film. I can definitely tell you that it's afraidy. And like, there's some incredible moments where like, there's a moment, in the film where a guy gets hooked by his septum ring to a ceiling fan on a chain, and watching everyone in the theater without knowing it all at the same time start holding their nose while watching the movie, and seeing hundreds of people holding their noses while watching a movie is shows you what an amazing amount of empathy an audience has as they're going through these scary moments.
And it's also applause to you guys for doing that and for creating that, the chaos, and everybody in the cast and crew. And great job.
Yeah, amazing cast. Excited for everyone to see them do their great work.
Yes. Well, thank you guys again so much for chatting with me. Congrats on the movie, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thank you, Katie. This is awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much to Zach and Adam for chatting with me. The movie's so freaking good, guys. Go see it in IMAX or 4DX. See the real. Go see it. God, it's so freaking fun. And see it with as many people as possible. This is a crowd movie. Seriously, go freaking watch it. It is so fun. It is so freaking fun. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz. You know the drill. Katie Afraidy on all social media platforms. Want a copy of Fangoria? Use code Katie Afraidy 25 for 25% off. And thank you to our sponsor, Filmcraft Studio Gear. You can find them at filmcraftla.com or filmcraftla on Instagram. And I guess my advice to you is don't die. Okay, on that note, guys, you have been amazing. I've been amazing. You're so welcome. And we'll see you next time. Stay Afraidy.
Good luck.